Ladies and gentlemen, it's Saturday morning. That means those two great guys full of information you don't want to miss. A veteran show for all veterans. Welcome Major Andrew White, retired, and Marine helicopter pilot Chuck Wright.
Hey.
Hoorah! And welcome to Kilroy's Conversation. Man, today is going to be kind of a mixture of a day for us. You know, we are going to be honoring, which to me, you know, despite all the political questions and turmoil, a true great American, you know.
Very interesting individual, clearly rather bipartisan, although I think he kind of,
you know,
and you can say that because he turned into a politician, but
he did. I think he was forced to be, and I'll go into that with a meeting I had with him back in 2016, and we'll talk about it a little. We're talking about former Secretary of State, former Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, former four-star General of the U.S. Army, Colin Powell.
Colin Powell.
We
yes,
lost
indeed.
him about 2 weeks ago today. Did we not?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, complications of COVID.
84
years old, got pneumonia. Let me tell you, pneumonia is no fun at all.
Yep, and add all the other amounts, plus battling cancer and Parkinson's disease.
Yeah, I tell you what, don't wish Parkinson's on my worst enemy.
Yeah, that's one of those.
That's just not a good one.
No, not at all. So we're going to talk a little bit about Colin Powell and all that he did, you know, for this great nation. Truly, you know, for all rights, a real American in every sense, you know, the word. No one can question his service to our nation over 54 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that being said, we'll talk about that a little bit, but I think our listeners kind of getting used to and almost expecting us to talk about the Commander-in-Chief Trophy.
Commander-in-Chief Trophy.
All that's going on. And we were talking a little bit about earlier this show. It's really down to, I think, Army Air Force. You know, it's going to come down. Of course, we know next week it could be – it really could be down.
It could be the game to decide the trophy.
Yep.
It's going to be a lot of fun. For those who haven't been following, we have the Commander-in-Chief Challenge that's going to be out at Globe Life Park, not at the Cowboy Stadium, but at Globe Life.
Yep.
We will be
I
there.
wonder why, probably dollars.
Well, actually, I think it's because the Cowboys are playing there the next day.
Actually, did you know that? I've taken a tour of the Cowboy Stadium. Do you realize they can do a college game on Saturday and within 12 hours convert the field over to be a NFL regulation field?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and they've done that before.
Oh, yeah, many times.
They've done that before. So, but it will be at Globe Life Park. We will be out there. We were hoping to be set up with a tailgate, but
that didn't come through.
You know, hey, JP, you know, got to let us know, my man.
Yeah, but that's all right. You know, we can't blame Jay. There were other factors, but anyway, let's talk about this game, and they are three teams here. Now, Navy, the record I don't think really is a true reflection of the team right now.
You know, I'm going to disagree with that. If you watched, and I did, Navy's games, I think I've watched most of them this year, they are playing harder and harder.
Yeah.
But at the start of the year, they were not
agreed.
Good football team.
That's what we were talking about at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
If there was a Hart Trophy.
Oh, absolutely.
I have to say,
are playing their hearts out.
Every player in that team is playing like it is the Super Bowl rolled up with the college championship game.
Yep.
These guys are playing and leaving absolutely nothing on the field.
They are truly, and this is true of all the players from the service academies, they epitomize student athletes.
Yes, 100%. So
there is no kinesiology, although that's actually not that easy of a course. But there's
underwater basket weaving is not a degree program,
and not even a course that's offered.
Yep.
There are no easy courses. Yeah, I will be real candid, and that is the one thing that I didn't do. And would you pull this up? And we're gonna.
Sure.
There's something else that I want to do, and you can go to my Facebook page if you want. You can find those pictures a little easier. There is one thing that occurred this past weekend that we need to spend a little time talking about. And that is the you obviously haven't been on my Facebook page.
Oh, I have. I know actually where you're going because when you hit it, I was actually was going to bring that up and all that, but I know for you it's a little bit more.
It is deeply, deeply personal, and we were talking about the 1983 Beirut barracks bombing, an incredibly cowardly attack. Many call it the first shots in the global war on terror. But they killed 241 Americans, 58 French paratroopers, and quite frankly, they accomplished nothing. That probably my biggest complaint against Reagan. I would have absolutely laid waste. And make no mistake about this, and we knew it at the time, and don't listen to the idiot Senator Ron Paul, who said that Iran is not a threat to the U.S. That was one of the goofiest comments ever. They organized this. They funded this.
If Iran's not a threat to the United States, I'm curious to see who actually is then.
Yeah, it was one of the he's a bit of a kook. I hate the fact that he represents the Libertarian Party, or at least he did for years. I am very much smaller government, less spending. Let's focus on the essentials. Let the economy, generally speaking, take care of itself. I realize you have to have some control on it. You can't just let it run.
Nate just sent you the picture for the Beirut bombing.
Okay.
I'm on it for you, buddy.
All right. I appreciate it, man. That's what's nice about you having your Apple iPad, laptop, whatever it's called over there. I can't
Modern technology.
Modern technology, yes, indeed. I got to use my smartphone that is way smarter than I am. Here is a picture of the aftermath of the bombing. But the reason, and this is what my partner in crime was referring to, my roommate when I was at the basic school and I first started in the Marine Corps, and speaking of, what made me remember it, a Naval Academy grad himself was first
crew team, right?
Huh?
He was a crew?
Sailing. He was on the sailing
I knew it
team.
was in the water.
Yeah. Now, I worked out, and I'll come back, I'll tell a story about the crew team because a bunch of them drug me into we did an obstacle course. Basically, today they would call it the combat readiness test in the Marine Corps. But back then it was an obstacle course. It was a 3-mile run. It was some other stuff thrown in. But I had some of the guys on the crew team suck me into a race like that, and we actually beat a bunch of Navy SEALs.
Really?
They thought they were going to come in and, clean the pilots' clocks, and I was definitely anchor on that team. Make no mistake about it. But, no, that was a lot of fun. But those crew guys are in incredible shape. But anyway, back
sculling,
to the time.
Isn't that the proper name for it? Sculling?
Well, there is sculling and there is crew. And I couldn't tell you.
I was going to ask you. What
crew, I think crew has an actual crew, whereas sculling, I believe, is rowing the one man.
I'm glad.
That's a guess on my
Until
part.
Until someone corrects us, we're just going to go with that as a David.
Somebody blast that out on Facebook and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. So, I welcome all commentary.
Yep, that's pretty cool.
Good, bad, or indifferent. But anyway, my roommate was First Lieutenant Don. We called him Woolly Bear Woollett. He was a damn fine Marine. He was an even better man. And his life and the lives of those Marines were taken from us entirely too soon. And I deeply appreciate Deb Wright gets mad at me because it's just easier to say. She didn't actually found Carry the Load. Clint Bruce did that. Stephen Holley did that. Another couple of Navy SEALs.
Annapolis grads.
Are they both Annapolis grads? I know that Clint was. Clint played football there and wound up going on to play in the NFL, but I really appreciate Carry the Load, and you'll hear about this much more in the spring as we really promote Carry the Load. It has allowed me a window, if you will, to did you throw the picture?
I didn't put Willie Bear's picture. I just put the Beirut bombing picture on there.
So if you check out my Facebook page, you'll see the actual write-up that Carry the Load does. And that is one of the most meaningful parts of Carry the Load is going up and down Katy Trail and seeing hundreds and hundreds of young men and young women that it's just our small way of never forgetting. and always remembering them. And it was interesting because of that. Little shout out to another TBS classmate and classmate of Don's at the Academy, Colonel Ron Rivas, reached out to me this week because he saw my post. I always say something on the just honoring the Gold Star families that make up the Beirut Online Memorial on Facebook. And I've had several of them email me, and I'll tell a story real fast. I got an email or a PM or whatever you call it on Facebook from one of the girls. And her father was killed, and he was Don's company commander. And she tells the story when she was very small. They had a Christmas Eve party. This was shortly before they deployed. I believe it was 2-8 that deployed. I'm pretty sure that was the unit that he was with. But Woolly Bear, and this doesn't surprise me at all, it's Christmas Eve and everybody else takes off. Woolly Bear was still there helping the captain set up the Christmas tree and get the toys out, put the toys together. That's just the kind of man he was.
And you hear stories like this all the time. Like at the time you don't think about it, it's just only still afterwards. And, that kind of reflects, you're right. For many of our generation, Beirut was probably the first, what we would consider war on terror.
Yep.
And I would tend to agree with you on that. It was an act that unforeseen, almost unpreventable. In a
lot of truth in that.
You can always second guess a lot of stuff, but in
we had
reality,
absolutely no intelligence this was coming.
Yeah, in reality, there was virtually nothing that could have prevented what happened. And and at the same time, I was doing a little bit of homework. We're also remember the anniversary of the USS Cole.
Yes.
Another tragic
Cowardly
event
attack.
that, again, virtually no warning, no thing, and we lost 13 sailors there, one from San Antonio. I believe that's our closest Texas tie out of that one.
Okay.
But, that's the whole thing with terrorists. They win by cowardly attacks. They will not face us with honor.
No.
They will only face us.
They have absolutely no honor whatsoever.
Exactly.
They hide behind women and children. These are as contemptible of people as you will find.
100%. And, they want to act like they're the high almighty yet. Back in the day, and I'm talking centuries ago, that would be considered cowardly. And, amongst who they're trying to appease to, their religious right, if you read back into their own history, their acts are nothing but cowardless and dishonored. But you know what? That's the way they are.
Yep.
And, I'm sure I will get my fair share of backlash. So be it. If your opinion is that, you know what? War's war. But terror
and
is,
to be clear, before anybody goes high into the right in this age of cancel culture, we are specifically talking about fundamental extremists.
Not a religion itself. I have many friends of many different faiths that I 100%. I am against all extremists of any religious group or
doesn't
entity.
matter who you are.
You take the extremist group, I'm against them.
You
Plain simple.
You take the nutcase, the white supremacist that was in North Carolina, killing and burning down churches. Hey, you know what?
I'm against you
him
too.
Completely.
And I've said it on the show a million times before all that. I don't acknowledge your name. If you're part of that cult, and I have to put it in the culture because I look at them as all equally worthless scumbags.
Yeah. There's
if you're
no
part of
difference
that,
between them.
I don't. What your specific cause is irrelevant to me. You're a coward.
You are doing nothing to further your cause. Nothing at all.
And for that, I don't acknowledge you. I don't. The sooner we can forget your name, the better off we are. And that's all I'll say on that.
So
back to football.
Let's take it back to football. Well, the one thing I got to say.
What's that?
I do have, and I hated the fact that here I have a roommate at TBS that was an Annapolis grad. Now, full disclosure, Wooly Bear was not a big football fan, certainly nowhere near what I was, but I have always regretted not having him take me to Annapolis for a game.
I still find to this day, and I know you've shared that story with me many times. How? Chuck, how?
And the sad thing is not just Annapolis. There were so many things to see and do around D.C. that didn't cost anything.
Yep.
And I should have, at least every other weekend, it should have been, hey, let's get a room at Gettysburg, and we're going to spend Saturday afternoon and all day Sunday there. Oh. Be at Gettysburg, going down to the Wilderness, going to Monticello to see Thomas Jefferson's place. Now, I appreciate the fact that I've gotten to do that, and a lot of this stuff I've gotten to do with Michelle. And it was funny. I remember my CO and I were on board ship. We were deployed. It was our second deployment. And I remember talking to him about the fact that, we had all these great places to see. But if you didn't have family to share it with, it was kind of like, okay.
I'm with you.
But still, totally regret not going. And I bring that up because I'm going to go off another one of my tangents.
Shocker.
So Ron and I were emailing back and forth today after we caught back up. Like I said, he saw my post and recognized the name from the Beirut Memorial online wall.
Where is the Beirut Memorial?
Actually, it's in North Carolina.
Really?
And the one thing I meant to mention is the words on it are, they came in peace.
Yep.
To go back to how cowardly these people were. They were trying to be peacekeepers. They were trying to fill the political vacuum that had been left. And there was no reason for the attack. Absolutely no reason at all. That we haven't hunted down and killed all of these guys, just beyond me. In fact, one of them, my understanding is still serving in the Iranian ministry of, hey, I'm a big dummy. Or I'm a coward hiding behind women's skirts. But anyway, They'll go jihad on me, and I'm like, I hope you realize I'm in Texas and well-armed. So bring it, baby. But, yeah, one of the things I was able to do, we had another classmate and a good friend of mine, and we were able to go to his retirement from the CIA. And I posted pictures of it.
Okay, are you allowed to even mention that?
When he was in, he would get real upset about that.
Yeah.
He was a little bit too territorial about it, but that's okay. I get it. He was just kind of one of those intense guys. But no, the pictures were actually taken by the CIA very carefully. So the picture is the entrance, the lobby of CIA headquarters. But what's cool is you can't just get in there.
Oh, no.
And they have a couple of really nice exhibits in there, including one that we got to tour, which is even more uncommon. Not everybody gets to go see the OSS Museum, and we'll talk about the OSS at some point. We'll dedicate a show to the what they were called in World War II was oh so social. But interestingly enough, and I think you know Colonel Junior Ortiz, his uncle was one of the biggest heroes of the OSS, came back with 2 Silver Stars, an absolutely incredible story. And Junior's actually speaking at our Marine Corps ball.
Very cool.
And he may not be the name we were really looking for, General Dunford. He may not be the big name, but I've heard him talk, and he does a great talk. And Junior Colonel Ortiz works for Clint Bruce's Trident Security, Trident Response.
You know, I don't know what they're calling now. I think they've done a few name changes.
And they've done a name change. Yeah, those guys do that stuff. Like 22 Kill is now One Tribe Foundation.
So I don't want to say the wrong name because I just simply don't know.
But to tie all that together, we've got the Marine Corps Ball coming up on the 13th for the Marine Corps League of Colin. Sorry about that.
Sorry, in Texas, while we love it here, allergy season right now is rampant, and I'm just going to take a moment to kind of let my partner in crime recover over there.
Recover a little bit. Yeah, I wanted to wrap that up. But,
so I'm going to talk a little bit about the football and what's going on over there.
Let's go
I'm going to stay with that. You take a few minutes to rest.
Football.
I'll go there. Like I said earlier, Navy right now unquestionably deserves the Hart Trophy if there was one.
27-20 against Cincinnati. I thought Cincinnati was going to run them out of the stadium.
Well, what about SMU? They held SMU to the last 2 or 3 plays of the game.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, you want to talk about Vegas sweating that game. That was huge. And, while they're probably not going to do much of anything this year, and I think that's probably, it's just because of the record, they are playing with a lot of passion and a lot of heart, and I give Navy all the credit they deserve for taking the field and never quitting.
Yeah,
hands down to that. So now we move on to Army Air Force, and man, let me tell you,
it's
shaping up to be an absolute slugfest. It's going to be one of those games where it's going to come down to who has the ball last.
Oh, absolutely. And let's talk about their recent games. Army gave – who did they play?
They gave Wake Forest.
Oh, Wake Forest, which is actually, clearly right now the class of the ACC.
They're, ranked 12 right now, I think?
They're way up there.
Yeah.
And undefeated. And they're a good football team.
And Army gave them a handful.
Everything they wanted. Oh, my gosh.
But if you look at the records, Army over the last 4 years – they took Oklahoma to what? Triple overtime?
Yep.
Michigan, one bad snap away from pulling a monster upset against Michigan. Then they play, I can't remember the other team that they played, another big time program. I think it might have been Notre Dame. They gave Notre Dame everything Notre Dame can handle and then some. These service academies, they play to... It's like Texas.
Yeah.
Come and take it, baby.
Come and take it. Oh, yeah.
We're not a walkover program.
No. No, not at all.
You better pack a lunch because we're giving you 60 minutes of all you can handle and then some.
Yeah.
And like I said, those are 3 games that top-ranked programs grossly underestimated what they're getting into. And that's what I think you're going to get next weekend in Arlington. You're going to get 2 teams that are going to literally be slugging it out every which way possible for someone to come out with it. Now, as an Army guy, I obviously have to root for them, but I will give the Army.
I'll be rooting for, as an Air Force brat, I'll be rooting for Air Force.
And I expect that. One thing I think Army does have, the only slight, and I do mean slight advantage, but in a game like these, that advantage could be big. We have a pretty good kicker.
Huh?
The kicker for Army is actually, I've seen him play, and he's made some pretty, for a service academy program, he's made some pretty good kicks, and I have not seen much of the Air Force kicker because they've been smashing it into the end zone, so that's good. But if it comes down to a field goal kicker, how many big college games have come down to that field goal kicker making that field goal at the very end.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's huge.
That could be the one edge in a game like this is whose kicker can make that clutch.
And make it better.
And that's where I like Army going into it, is just having that minuscule edge. It's not going to be a blowout game.
No.
It's
going to be slugfest. It's going to be fun to watch. We'll be sitting in the third base box.
Yep.
I'm not quite sure where that is in relationship to the football field, but hey, we'll be in the third base box. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be an exciting game. We're going to try to do some video recording with some veterans. And the reason for that, that next week on Thursday.
Yeah, that's right.
Tune in to JP, Kathy, and the crew. The show here, we are going to have an all-day, I think it's 8 to 5.
I believe so.
Maybe it's 8 to 8. I'm not sure. Telethon. And we will be fundraising for my favorite veteran service organization, Homeless Veteran Services of Dallas, which also runs the Veteran Resource Center, the first Veteran Resource Center in Dallas, now copied several times but never duplicated. And we are really trying to grow that facility to focus more on the Veteran Resource Center side. Not that we're ignoring our homeless, but
we're trying to get them before they get into homeless.
Exactly.
And that right there, I'm glad you brought it up. And I said, don't forget, we still got to talk about Colin Powell. But here's the thing. You and I, we've both been involved in multiple different assets to help out service members before and after. The best cure to keep them from entering the wrong side of the homeless shelter is to catch them early and get them on the right path to success.
It is absolutely shocking to me how many of our veterans, and especially our female veterans, who wind up being homeless for more than a week of their life.
Yep.
I don't understand why they're homeless for a day in their life. But it's how do we catch them? How do we find them, and how do we catch them?
Finding them's the tricky part. How it happens, I'll be honest with you, I just actually came today from a conference about that, employment opportunities, and it is something that I'll touch on a little bit with Colin Powell talked about. And one of the things that I know he tried very hard while he was chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff to improve the exit strategy plan for when servicemen. And I will say this, while I loved my military service, I know you did, and I can call in any number of veterans and they will all say, their service was great. That last week of service, while you are getting your paperwork and getting out in that 2 days of how to learn to become a civilian, I'll be honest with you, it probably has not improved much since when you first enter service. And that, I think, is the start of the problem. We don't take the time, and I can speak from my own experience, and it's not much different than most others, it's a check the block type of.
Well, and that's the problem. And I want to talk about that a little so our listeners who haven't been in the service or who don't remember what that transition was like. When we talk about checking the box, you wind up with this checkout list, and you can't leave the military until you check all the boxes and somebody's initialed it or stamped it or done whatever they need to do. And one of those is a lot of these courses that you have to sit through that you're basically sleeping through. You really don't care. And then you get out, and you complete that list, and boom, man, my pack has hit the deck. I'm done. You don't, and it might be 6 weeks. It might be 6 months. It might be 6 years. You don't want anything to do with the military. Mm-hmm. And I always use the analogy of a prairie dog. Because like a prairie dog, you pop your head up, and at some point in time, you're looking around going, wait a minute. These civilians don't have that same culture that we had in the military.
100% agree with you.
I miss that culture. How do I get reconnected to it? And this is one of the reasons the VRC is so important. In Houston, they call it Combined Arms. In Waco, they call it the One Stop, and it's over by the VA. The VRC here is down by the VA, 4900 South Lancaster. And what happens is we put resources in there. And Combined Arms, quite frankly, really wrote the book on how to do this.
Yes, they did. And
they
I was
have
with them
30-something different organizations that actually headquarter. Groups like Disabled American Veterans. Groups like Next Stop. Gus Karbakis used to work for him, and now he works for Combined Arms.
Hope for the Warriors.
Hope for the Warriors. So you have all of these incredible organizations, and somebody can walk in, can check in, and so every veteran has different needs. And here's the problem. There is no one organization out there that's going to fill all of your needs.
No.
The VA has a role. The state, Texas Veterans Commission has a role. The Texas Veteran Land Board has a role. You've got all
county
these
service
roles.
officers have roles.
Yeah, absolutely. And quite frankly, I tell people all the time, if you haven't checked in with your county veteran service officer, you need to make an appointment.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't care who you are. I don't care where you are in transition. But you've got veterans that need employment. You've got veterans that need mental or physical help. You've got veterans who need, did I say employees and housing? You've got veterans who need educational help, and there's all kinds of resources, but they may or may not all be from one source. But the beauty of what Combined Arms does is that they get
put them all under one roof.
Yep, exactly. They're all under one roof. So it's going to be various services, and it's one of the things that I've talked to the state about this. You don't talk to the federal government; they talk to you. Yep. But we need to partner better together.
But you know what, Chuck, you and I, we've said this a million times. And while I love 99.9% of all the VSOs out there, none of them want to play together, or very few.
A lot of them don't.
And that's a shame because, and if you're in a VSO, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great VSOs out there.
And thank you for all that work.
Exactly. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Some are better than others for various different reasons. But one thing which I challenge you all out there, and I really do, especially the successful ones, reach out to the, if you will, not as successful or not as recognizable ones, because while you're really great at whatever it is you provide, by combining with somebody else and partnering with someone else that may not be right where you are, only adds to your overall ability to do your job, your mission, your cause. And that, I think, is what we need from our VSOs. Don't look at this as a knock. It's not. You know, it's a challenge. It's to say, hey, listen, look deep inside your organization's fabric. Look deep inside who you are within inside that organization and say, hey, listen, we're good, but we could be better. And how we be better is find another organization out there that may be struggling a little bit. Guide them, mentor them, show them what you guys did that's so successful. I get the reasons why some of y'all are a little closed off to other organizations. I get it. I understand the problems. It is a lot of it has to do with financial, donations. But you want to what? And if you haven't noticed this, because I know I have, once veterans are no longer the front center of the news story, the dollars do dry up. And you too, even the successful ones, your dollars will dry up too. And I'm not saying that in any threatening way. It's just reality.
Just the reality
of how the nature of the beast works. You know, when things are hot, yes, you're getting all the money and all the love in the world. But when it's no longer a newsworthy story, it's no longer tugging on the heartstrings of folks anymore. And it's unfortunate. It really is. But it's also the reality of the world we live in.
And unfortunately, the veteran service organizations that need to hear this are usually the ones that are tuned out the most.
Yep.
But that's just reality. Having said that, and I don't want to throw every VSO under the bus because a lot of them are doing the right things for the right reasons.
There are some that aren't.
Yeah. There are some that aren't, and they unfortunately.
And for various reasons.
Yeah.
You know, some they go into this with the right intention. They just don't have the means to do the well. And then there's others who it's a nonprofit, but they're really profiting themselves.
They're looking for a salary, baby. Yeah, there's a couple of those that
we're not going to mention. We're not going to mention them.
Names.
Do your own homework. We tell everyone, check on things like Charity Navigator and stuff like that to find out whether or not the individual or that organization really is doing what they say
they're going to do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And like I said, there are a number of them that mean well. They just don't have the means to do well. About the best way. But
okay, we got about 15 minutes left.
And I want to dedicate a lot of that to
Let's dedicate that to Colin Powell.
Again, an American is about the best way to describe, the best adjective, I think, for him.
Yep.
He grew up in Harlem, New York.
Yep.
Son of immigrant parents from Jamaica.
Yep.
What a lot of people think, the first debunked myth about him is he is not a West Point graduate. A lot of people first think he went to West Point. He did not.
No.
He went to City College of New York.
Yep.
All right. ROTC kid, went to Vietnam, 9th Infantry. If you know anything about the 9th Infantry Battalion.
Don't know anything about the 9th Infantry.
Very historical battalion, saw a lot of combat. lot of, action under that man's belt, very distinguished military career. Not someone to sleep on when you read his full military bio and what he did. He was one of the good ones. He sat there and rose to the top the right way. And, he became kind of a politician, not by choice, but by experience. Kind of like a little bit like Ike in some ways. Yep. Ike was,
that is an accurate parallel.
Ike was said to be MacArthur said the best staff officer in the United States military.
Yeah, but MacArthur meant that as an insult.
But it also proved to be the right man for the right job at the right time. And I would say about Colin Powell, the right man for the right job at the right time.
Very true.
Very,
very true.
And he learned that from Reagan. And when I met him back in 2016, he had an incredible story. He's like, he told us at the luncheon, he's like, how many people think I'm a Republican? So many hands went up. How many people think I'm a Democrat? So many hands went up. He said, I'm an American. Yep. He's like, for 54 years, I served our nation, whether in uniform or at the political, center. He's like, I served for 4 presidents, 3 Republican and 1 Democrat. And he's like, I learned something from each and every one of them, what to do and what not to do. He's like, he did say the one he learned the most from was Reagan. He never told us which one he learned the least from. I have my suspicions, but, we won't go there. Yep. And he said one of the things he learned from Reagan is he went in there, the first time he met Reagan, he started briefing him. And Reagan was, not had his back turned to him and looking out at the tree. And he's like, he was a 1-star general at the time. He's like, do I go on? All that. And he said, sir, do you have any questions? And the question Reagan asked him was like, which one of the squirrels out there you think grabbed the nut first? And Colin Powell was like, he was confused. He went back to his office. Why was he asking me questions? Was he not paying attention to anything he said? Someone came there and said, he already knows what, tell him what he doesn't know. That's the reason why, he had, he's like, he already knows that you know these things. Go in there and tell him what he doesn't know. That's your job, is to advise him on what he doesn't know, not what he already knows. Don't waste the president's time. It's like, that's how we learned how to work around presidents. Like, give them what they need to know so they can make the decisions they need to make. Because you think about the role of president. Yes, commander-in-chief is your number one role. They've got so many other things. People, you could be in there briefing them about an attack, but they're also getting information about the air traffic controllers going on strike on Christmas.
Yep.
He's got to make a lot of decisions, go in there and brief him on what he needs to know, not all the – that's what he pays you to do, is take care of all the stuff he already knows.
Right.
Your job is to teach him what he doesn't know.
And it's amazing how simple that sounds and yet how powerful that is.
And – you sat there and you're like, wow, brilliant on so many levels of how Reagan taught him. And he said that's how he is like, he realized quickly he needed to educate him on, don't waste your time. Presidents doesn't have time to know the minutia details.
Right.
They need to know
what's important.
What's important? What do I need to do now?
Yep.
And make a decision. So, like I said, when I met him, to be impressed would be an understatement. He said his greatest legacy, he said, out of all the awards and all the dedications and all the different things out there, his favorite dedication was the fact that there are 5 schools in this country named after him.
Wow.
And the elementary schools. He's like, he said, in so many years from now, I'm going to be dust and bones, but some kid is still going to walk across the stage.
So I don't remember the name of the program, but he had started a program, and this was in the 90s, I believe. Mm-hmm. And one of the pilot projects was here in Dallas, but it was connecting businessmen to students in school to be mentors. It was a variation of Boys and Girls Club, but it was targeting older kids who really needed mentorship. It was a mentor program.
And he loved those things. He was one of those guys that he really believed in that mentorship. And, one of my leadership philosophies is find a mentor, be a mentor. And that's what he did. He really homed that. Everywhere he went, he's like he found someone to inspire him so he could turn around and inspire others. You know, Colin Powell, he did things for America. I mean, and you go back to, you know, I know some people get angry about the whole Iraq war thing. Colin Powell was a soldier all the way through.
Right.
He did what his commander-in-chief told him to do, despite his reservations. He did it, and he sold it.
Well, the interesting thing is they're still trying to sell the narrative that Saddam didn't have weapons of mass destruction.
Yep.
So if that's true, can the people who say that explain to me why in 2006 or in 2000, sorry, I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I'll do that right quick.
Yep.
And it's just a solicitation call anyway. I should just hang up on it, but
Your business Amazon listing may not be up to date.
yeah, something like that. Now we are on Do Not Disturb.
All right.
Although that person actually left a voicemail, which is rare. No, that was just me sending a, I'll call you back. Not that I'm going to as a solicitation. Anyway, 10 tons of yellow cake uranium was removed from Iraq.
Yeah, there's no question it was there.
Yeah.
All right. And, you know, we can sit here and we can argue the merits of whether we should or should not have gone into Iraq. That's an argument that can be debated over and over again. Do I believe the first focus and primary focus should have been in Afghanistan? Yes. You know, Iraq, again, you can argue the merits of that.
Yeah.
You know, that's for another time. But the bottom line is, while he didn't necessarily agree with that, he did his job. And that's what you can say about, you know, Colin Powell. He always did his job. Yeah. Despite, you know, he voiced his opinion privately, but spoke the party line, so to speak, you know, when it came down, because that's what a good soldier does. You know, behind closed doors, he'll let you know what he thinks, but when you walk out of there, he let everyone know it's a united front over here, and we will do what we need to do as a man. And that's what I respected about him. He was always about America first and do whatever he needed to do. I mean, that's why, like, he had no question in his mind to Desert Storm. Storm and Norman was the right man for the job. And by God, did he pick the right guy for that job.
And he was, keep in mind, folks, at that point in time, he was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Yep, and he knew without question, without any hesitation, I got the guy that's going to do this. And, you know, Storm and Norman Schwarzkopf. Now, there's a giant of a man, literally and figuratively. You know, they don't make him like him, and they certainly don't make him like Colin Powell no more. You know, and I did have one question that I asked him when I did get to meet him. We all got to ask him, and, you know, again, open for political debate, and I'm sure I'm going to get to hate mail on this, but my question to Colin Powell was this, and he's retired, so he had no political influence. I mean, he does, but he didn't. You know, was we had built over in Kuwait these giant transitional bases when we were getting launched that are still there today. Now, I'm no economic expert, nor am I a logistical expert, but I'm pretty sure taking the folks that are trying to escape from countries like, Afghanistan, it's probably a lot easier to move them to Kuwait than it is to where there's already an established tents, facilities, medical treatment centers, cafeterias, bedding, lodging, educational centers that are already built. That can house.
Yeah, but they're not staffed.
But we could have staffed people there, and it'd be cheaper to do that than to bring them all over here. Not only that, but we could do the vetting process over there.
That's true.
You know, that's the point I'm trying to get at is it takes a lot of aircraft to bring them over here.
We can't get them there. We've still got 240, 250 Americans who aren't leaving just yet. We've got over 100 that want out. We can't get them out. But I understand what you're saying because there are a lot of our allies that needed to be relocated, that needed to safety, needed
And
to
we
get to
have
safety.
these great facilities right there.
there.
We could. How hard would it be to staff them? Let me tell you, as a recruiter myself right now, that is, yes, sir, I got my marching orders.
Yep.
I can make it happen. And I brought that up to him, and he just kind of looked at me and gave me a smile. He's like, I appreciate your input. You know, which to me told me he liked what I had to say, but obviously there are powers that be that couldn't change it. But that's not here, not there. Like I said, we lost a great American. Where do they has he been buried yet? And I imagine he would get Arlington.
He's going to get a state cemetery. I mean, state funeral.
Yeah, I mean,
Most likely buried at Arlington, but who knows?
No. But a phenomenal American. And I remember we were talking to him just before the Army-Navy game, and people would say, who are you rooting for? And he said, well, you understand, I did not go to West Point, so I have no allegiance to West Point. But I was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, so technically everyone in the service fell under my command, you know, for the Navy. So I guaranteed one of my teams is going to win on Saturday. He's like, the best team will prevail.
There we go.
You know, and
a
that's
very
how he was.
political answer.
You know? And
Indeed,
everyone laughed,
indeed.
you know, and that's the kind of guy he was. Great sense of humor. I will tell you, he really had a good sense of humor.
Oh, that's excellent. And you know who else has a great sense of humor?
Who's that?
W. Bush.
Yes, he does.
Oh, my gosh, that man is funny.
He has a great sense of humor. In fact, actually, I'm going to challenge Chuck, because we're going to find this out. I have an autographed copy of Colin Powell's book. Do you?
Very nice. I do not.
What?
You actually
Hold
have
the
found
breath.
the only book that you have a copy of and that's autographed that I do not.
Now, I don't think it's first edition, so,
Okay.
you know, but I do have an autographed copy of Colin Powell's book.
On the other side of the coin, I not only have an autographed copy of Decisions, which was W's book,
Yep.
it's autographed to Chuck.
Nice.
John Keating pulled that off for me.
Very nice.
Your fellow Army mate, John
Yep.
Keating. So, hey, folks, we have reached the end of another show.
Yep.
I wanted to throw out 2 reminders. So when you listen to this, it will be the 30th of October. You will be 1 week away for the Commander-in-Chief Challenge game. That is the game against Air Force and Army. Come join us. We will be at Globe Life Park.
We're not sure yet, but we'll be there.
We're going to be on the third base side in a box. We're going to try to figure out a way to get set up out there because one of the things we really want to do is interview veterans. And one of the reasons we want to interview veterans is 5 days later, on the 11th, on Veterans Day, we are going to host. JP, Kathy, and the crew are going to host. We're going to be part of it all day, a telethon raising money for homeless veteran services in Dallas. But celebrating, more importantly, celebrating our veterans.
Absolutely.
We're going to have veterans on. We're going to have stories. We're going to have all kinds of great stuff.
And with that, I'm going to close out because I got also a few other things. One, he didn't mention it, but this weekend is his birthday. And last year, he did not get dressed up on his birthday for Halloween. I did. So the pirate, you know, for those who follow the show,
you stole my costume. So.
You know, we got that. So got to wish my partner in crime a happy early birthday.
I appreciate it.
Because I will not be here to call him because I am heading up to Go Green, Go White.
We didn't mention that.
You know,
it's Michigan State
game, and I've got my tickets.
Top 10 matchup. This is going to be a good
for the
game.
Paul Bunyan Trophy.
Pulling for Michigan State.
Yep. So big game is that's part of the reason I'm wearing green today. You know.
I thought you were going out on the golf course later.
I probably will. You know, but so Sparty Nation, you know, go green.
Go green, baby.
All right. With that, hoorah, hoorah. See you all next time.